the fear factor. But you know what the opposite of fear is? Love. So this is a song from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and it's the perfect new thought song. It's called Pure Imagination. Come with me, and you'll be in a world of pure imagination. Take a look, and you'll see into your imagination. We'll begin with the spin, traveling in the world of our creation. What we'll see will defy explanation. If you want to view paradise, simply look around and view it. Anything you want to do it. Want to change the world, there's nothing to it. There is no life I know to compare with pure imagination. Living there, you'll be free if you truly wish to be. You will find in your mind there's a world of endless fascination. No more fun place to be than in your imagination. You can dream any dream. You can savor every situation. Life in there is a sensational sensation. If you want to see magic lands, close your eyes and you will see one. Wanna be a dreamer, be one. Anytime you please, just save me one, please. There is no place to go to compare with your imagination. So go there to be free if you truly wish to be. Thank you.
That was beautiful. Thank you. We have some new guests. Stacy, what are your children's names? Navia and Uriah. What beautiful names. Yay. Thanks for coming, kids. Welcome. We do have some crayons and stuff if you want to do that. You don't have to listen to me. It's okay. I'm easygoing. All right. So, happy Mother's Day again. And I know there are a couple of you that got here a little late, a few of you here. Mothers, raise your hand again. We're going to go through this again. Yay! Yay! That's right. Hi. Good to see you too, all the way from Anaheim, right? Yep. Good for you. Thank you. I'm glad you're here. And then we have grandmothers. Yes? Come on, raise your hands. Raise your hands. Come on. Let's see, we have fur babies, plant babies, all those. Raise your hand, everybody. Okay. I caught everybody this time. So I'm glad that you're here. And I have a very interesting talk today. It's called The Fear Factor. Now, I have to tell you, we get these titles, and I go, that scares me when I talk about the fear factor. But I have a better title for it. Let's see if it's on there. There is. Let your faith be bigger than your fear. I like that one a lot better. And on the bottom it says, for too long, many of us, I think I'm a little high here, many of us have allowed fear to plague our lives and deter us from our good. We have the power to change the narrative and allow faith to lead the way instead of following fear. So I start thinking about my talks, a couple days in advance, and then I create them the day before because I want them to be fresh. I want them to be what's inspiring me and maybe what's going on in my life. So last night I started thinking about fear, how fear stops us. Truly can stop us. And why would that be so? I've watched people just become paralyzed by fear. And then I thought, okay, well, obviously the opposite of fear is faith. But I think it's a little difficult to go from fear to faith. Don't you? I think it's really difficult to do that. So there's a method, and I'm going to show you the method I used as I was growing up in Science Mind. Because I always think it's always kind of nice to know, well, maybe there are stages and not feel bad, because there's no right or wrong about this. It's about how do we do it in our own lives. So I came up with what I call a slightly different perspective. I like to twist this around so that you can think about it, or maybe you have a graphic, you can go, oh, where am I on that scale? Where am I? So that you can identify yourself and then you can move through it. I also want to say this first, and that is that fear as danger is real. Okay? I don't want to discount that at all. I think that's really important. Our emotions help us to guide us and move us through our fears and our lives. So fear as danger is real. All right? So we just get that premise out of the way. But there's a different kind of fear. And if you relate to this, I want you to put your hand where I put mine. The one that I want to talk about is the fear that we make up in our minds. Am I alone? Am I alone? Put your hand if you get it. And then what happens is we reinforce that by looking for the bad things in our world. The bad things are going to happen. We hear the nasty news on the news. We hear it on the radio. We reinforce it so it becomes this big monster, right? Everybody with me on that? Yep. All right. So I'm going to make a statement that sounds a little simple, but it's not simple to remember. And I believe that there's a line between, because this is what I was contemplating when I went to sleep. So why fear, why faith? And that there's a line between our consciousness, where we're unconscious and we're conscious of fear or faith. See that line? I put it in the middle because I believe that there's a turning point where we are unconscious with our fear and we shift, and I'll give you examples today, we shift into having more faith. It's not that automatic fear to faith. It is a process. But, and again, this is very heady right now. If we are not using the principle of faith in the right way, we automatically shift to fear. But when we start shifting to faith, we're using the principles of the universe, or whatever you want to call it, the essence, in the right way. So that helps us perpetuate us into faith. So it's the conscious use of the principle that's important here. And I put that graph up there because I think that if we have something to look at, where am I at? Am I over here or am I over here? Instead of just fear or faith. Does that make sense? Am I making sense? Okay, good. Because when we're in fear, we have forgotten who we are. We have forgotten that we're the essence of spirit, God, essence, whatever you want to call it, then that it moves in and out and through our lives. But we have forgotten that. We also have not healed that thing that has put us into fear. Whether it's money, whether it's relationship, whether it's health, we're still in fear over that and we've not healed that. So it's important that this is something that you start to look at. Use it in a different way, not just fear of faith, fear of faith, fear of faith. It doesn't go that way. And we don't give credence to something that I would say is our higher thought. Because faith gives us a greater good to be revealed. When we move into faith, what happens, we go from the negative, we move into this, oh, there's some possibility. Oh, I could do it this way. Oh. So it's important to see that there's a major shift that has to take place, but we have to be conscious of that. And I know for myself, I've moved through life in the beginning. I never thought about that. I never thought about how do I shift from this to that. I just thought, well, there was something up there that was going to help me, and it was going to save me. And so when I begged enough, it would come to me. Well, it doesn't come to you. As we consciously move, we start to reveal it in here and out there. We see it. It becomes congruent with what we want. So I want you to look at the scale, and I want you to figure out, where are you? You have more fear, you have more faith. And again, there's no contest here. There's no right or wrong here. It's just an awareness. I also want to talk a little bit about emotions. And for me, I'll say this. I have learned, and I was counting how many years I've been doing this, over 25 years, maybe more, 27, I think. So that's a long time. And so through that time of learning and making lots of mistakes, being in lots of fear, I have learned that when I go into fear, that's really a trigger for me. Do you know what I mean by trigger? It's like if you have asthma and you can't breathe, that's like a trigger. So fear has become a trigger for me, which tells me I have to go deeper. I have to move into it, not away from it. Now, I might step back, which is really, I do that a lot. I'll step back and go, But when I'm in the thick of fear, I don't think about stepping back. But now it becomes a trigger. So again, another part of this is to recognize it and say, oh, there's something else here I need to look at, opposed to it being bad. How many people make fear out to be bad? It's okay, raise your hands. I want everybody to see it. Yes, we make it out to be bad. It's not bad. It is just an awareness. Take the bad and throw that in the trash. Let's get rid of that one. The thing about fear, and as we move into it, it assists us, our emotions assist us to reflect upon things and explore, and then to grow from them, to grow from the experience that we have. So here's what fear does to us. Fear causes more fear. We're going to explore fear, and we're going to explore faith. But fear will cause more fear. How many of you have listened to the news and you go, oh, that's terrible? Yeah. And then the next thing that comes on is that's more. And you go, oh my God, the world's falling apart. It will lead us there. I can remember, and this wasn't in my talk, but I can remember the day that 9/11 happened. You know, it went from fear to fear to fear to fear, what's happening. And yet I know, and that was that was a long time ago. Oh, how is that, 11? 21, thank you. Sorry, my math is not good today. 21 years ago, I remember the moment that I shifted to, out of this horribleness good is going to happen. And it did. It brought New York together. So, again, lots of training here. The next one is we jump off the cliff of faith. Now, what does that mean? We ignore or we forget that possibilities are around, that they are always there. They are never going away. They have always been there, and they will be there tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next day. But we forget that. We forget that. And then the third one is we don't understand how the fear factor, and what that really is taking a risk, and how that will allow us to claim our good. And I have examples of this that we'll talk about. Michelle Obama says this. She says, failure is a feeling long before it became an actual result. It's vulnerability that breeds with self-doubt and then is escalated often deliberately by fear. So a lot of what we hear going on in the world today, this is what's going on. It's escalated. And we need to know, okay, that's what's happening in the world. Do I need to buy into it, or can I just Observe it. Pay attention to it. So I have some fear points, and I want you to see if you relate to any of these. Is your life being run like this? First of all, fear causes more fear. Yeah. Okay, secondly, fear tends to draw out the worst in us. Hate that one. Like our insecurities that we didn't know we had, the fears feel bigger than maybe necessary. Yeah. Okay, I like this one. We are good at self-talk and believing things are true. So I have a little caveat to that. There is truth and there is opinion. There is truth and there is opinion. And just because you hear an opinion does not make it truth. That's my opinion. So pay attention to that, because sometimes we get caught up in opinions. But my opinion today is true. So just pay attention to that, because what happens is that we become anxious and upset because these are fears that are being brought up that we make and think they're true. And they may or not be. And you know, today is a really strange world where truth and non-truth seem true. And so you really have to pay attention and find your truth in it. And I'm not here to tell you what the truth is. I want you to look at both sides and find out what feels right within you. And then respond from the place that's your true center, not somebody else's. Is that okay? Can you do that? All right. How many of us tighten our bodies up and get tense and we can't breathe when we're in fear? I got one going in my back right now. I don't know what I'm afraid of. Maybe just rest, right? This one's, I think, happens a lot. We box ourselves in with no place to turn. Life of fear just snowballs. Yeah. We tend to make it that this is the only way it can happen. And there was a show I was watching last week. How many people watch Heartland? I love that show. I mean, I'm not a horse person, but I really love that show. And they had a horse which had lost sight in one of its eyes. And the owner, it was in a contest of some sort. I won't get into all that. But it lost sight in one eye. And so the person that was working with the horse said, take the blinders off. And the owner's like, no, he won't be able to see. He gets distracted. And she says, take the blinders off so that he can turn this way and that way and see what's going on in front of him. So take the blinders off. Look both directions. See what's going on. And if you can, pause. Step back. Yes, step back. And just look. Don't make any adjustments. Don't make any changes. Don't do anything but watch. Observe. And observe how you feel, because that's what's going to move you in whatever direction is going to move you. Someone anonymously said this: no good can come from this situation, and escape seems impossible unless we turn our attention towards where we want to go. Fear is our reaction to a perceived threat of hurt or harm, either real or imagined. So I thought about this morning. I was thinking about in the creation of Om, and some of you that are still here from the beginning, I was in a lot of fear. And I went to see a minister, and I probably told my story too loud and said too many superlative words. That's a big word. I said a lot. And they listened to me, and they heard my story. And they said to me one thing, and I put it in here. Unless we turn our attention towards where we want to go, we're going to stay there. And they said, turn your attention to where you want to go. And so over the last 15 years, when I became this much in fear over anything around Om, I went to that, where is it I want to go? God, show me the direction we need to go. And I was guided to that. So even with, and I want you to know, and I said this last week, that I asked our landlords, I said, well, we'll move over there, not a big deal. I said, but this is where our budget is, and this is where I want to be. I got confirmation on Friday that's what we're going to be doing. So we just dropped our expenses by $300 or $400 a month. Yeah, it's because I wasn't afraid to ask for what I wanted. Because we are hybrid. There's a lot going on. And there's a lot continuing to go on. So I'm looking for the bigger picture. But I wasn't afraid to ask. Now, I can tell you 15 years ago, I would have been afraid to ask. I would have been afraid to say, I can't afford that. It's not that we can't afford it. I want to be good stewards of our funds. That's where I come from. Because that's the longevity of our organization. It's a bigger picture than just this moment. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Is that okay with you?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right.
Good job.
So I'm going to give you a story. And of course, I tell you stories about me. Is that okay?
Yes.
All right. So before, or as I was moving into Science of Mind, the teachings, I had my own business. I didn't have a church. And I didn't understand this stuff. And all I heard was, well, go try it out, go see if it works, and then come back. Just keep coming back, which is what I did. So I had a business called Computer Covers Unlimited. And I had vendors all over California. And I would actually go to them and pick up the goods, because I would save money, right? Good business person. I would save money, and I would go pick up goods. But again, you need to know I was running from fear during that time, because it was a new business. Businesses don't succeed the first year, which I've always succeeded. But I didn't recognize that at the time. So I had made up things in my mind, and here are the things I used to say to myself. They will make me pay in advance. I didn't have money. Everything I made went back into the business, got recycled through. They will not let me pick things up or only give me a little of what I want. And they will give me a hard time or just say no. And those things went through my mind all the time with different vendors. I was just new to learning about principles and how do I live my life and how do I do this stuff. But eventually, I kept coming back every Sunday and I took a class. And one day I woke up and I said to myself, what I was doing was getting myself worked up over something that never happened. It was my monkey mind going. It was telling me those things. And so what I started to do when that happened was I recentered myself. And I started to think of the opposite. So see how these things sound. So if you got that going on right now, I want you to start thinking about how can I say something the opposite way. So here's what I said. It feels really good now because that's exactly what happened. I have open credit line. I can buy anything I want. There is an abundance available of what I need, and I can have it. Now that's powerful, right? They are friendly and all is well. They are friendly and all is well. And I have to tell you that when I changed from that, a whole different world opened up. Now I also want to say that it took a while for me to make that work. So because I had this other scenario going on as I'm driving up to Orange County, one of my vendors, I would stop before I went into their business and I would go into the parking lot where they weren't so they couldn't see me and I would pray. I would pray knowing these things, and I prayed a lot. This is like in my brain. Go pray, Suzette. Pray for what you want. And you know what? There's not one time that I was ever denied. Ever denied. Because I knew, and I worked with, remember that fear to faith? I worked with the principle of abundance. I worked with that. And it said, okay, let me prove it to you again and again and again and again.
Yes.
So I no longer was afraid of going there, but I prayed a lot. The second point is jumping off the cliff of faith. Now that sounds really weird. I thought that was a weird way of saying that. And now when we think of jumping off a cliff, we think of gravity and we think of falling and really hurting ourselves, right? Or dying, possibly. When we think of jumping off in a metaphysical way, and I need to get this next part. When we jump off in a metaphysical way, what happens is we are jumping off into the infinite possibilities. Get that? It's a whole different game. It's not the same. It's not the fear part. It's the, let me show you what's out there. Let me show you what you can have. But we have to continually work with ourselves. The other thing is, during this stage, is that we have to do the healing. And we have to learn that we can fly. It's just like me stopping before I went into that place and praying. And then the proof came. And then the more proof came. And the more proof came. But that was my first step, my first stage. There's more to this. The other thing about jumping off is we have to have courage. And every time we go from fear to faith, we are strengthening our courage. So I want you to know, moving, shifting, helps your everything, your psychic, your body, your whatever's going on, realize that you have courage and that you're going to get what you want. But we have to convince ourselves of that. And it's real because it does work. So when we step into faith, do you know when you stepped into faith? Do you really know? Can you think of times when you have? Can you hear me, Mom? Do I need to be a little louder for her? Could you turn the volume up a little bit for Mom? Thank you. So let me give you some thoughts around faith. When we step into faith, our faith builds and strengthens because it's accumulative. It's like a bank account. If every day you put in a penny, you're going to have 365, and you keep doing that, it's going to just, it's going to accumulate. Now put in the stocks, you'll make more money, okay? Or whatever you want to call them. Faith never goes away. Fear will dissipate, but faith will never leave you. It is always there, and all you have to do is call upon it. How many people here have called upon faith at some point in their life? Everybody. Remember, call upon it. Do not be afraid to call upon it. I can remember driving, and I've had people call me, and they're like, ah! And I say to them, Spirit, God, essence, whatever you want to call it, is there now with you. You deserve it. It belongs to you. It has never gone away. And I just want to emphasize that. All of this is always available. But we forget, or we let fear take over. Having faith and having more faith and more faith gets easier over time. I can tell you, when I began, I did not have a lot of faith in myself, or my wisdom, or my willingness, or my intentions. But as I continued to try and work this stuff, my faith grew. It just kept growing, and it got easier. Pretty soon I didn't have to pray anymore. I did a little bit, but I just walked in. They said, hi, here, what do you want? Things changed. I like this one. The scary monster that we thought was there may actually be harmless. Sometimes we make these things up. That our brains are extremely creative. So, and the other thing is maybe we've looked at it the wrong way. I do that a lot, I don't know about you, but I'll see something and I'll just read over it really fast and I think, oh, I got it, and then I read it again. I didn't get it. So we have looked at it, from a whole different perspective. So again, take your time when stuff like this comes up. So my story continues. I want to continue the story because it's in phases for me. It became phases. So the first part was I went from fear, had to prove it, pray about it, build my strength and faith and so forth. The second part, this is the second stage for me, is that over time my mind stopped saying those things to me. It's important that you get that. If you got fear going right now, you got to keep working on the faith. You got to keep working on that's not true about me. Here's what's true about me. But eventually, the words will stop. That will go away. And what happened to me then is I became more creative. So I kept moving in to, remember I said, move to the place I want to go. I kept moving in. I started becoming more creative, and I started asking for more. How dare me? Ask for more. I wasn't afraid of asking for more, because before I was afraid to even ask. Now I was asking for more. And I wrote this down. I'm going to read this because it's kind of another caveat to this whole process. In fact, I believed at the same time I was not as afraid to ask questions in general. It became my awakening to ask for more, ask for my good, and to watch it unfold. No longer was I watching the negative that was unfolding or that I thought was unfolding. Instead, I started to ask for what I wanted, ask for how much I wanted, and more. And then I went, it's in front of me. I got a $50,000 SBA grant out of a vision I had. Yep. And I had no money in the bank.
Wow.
Because I knew this was something that was going to be really important in the industry. And I paid it back. Just like Ohm getting the EIDL loan of $25,000, we didn't need it during the pandemic because all of you took care of each other and this community and your center, and we gave it all back. That's how powerful we are. I know, that's how powerful we are here, and I want you to get this. You have a community that is backing you to do great things. And I want the fear part to not be important anymore. I want you to go out and try. Get out there. Go for it. Ask that question you've been trying to ask. Don't be afraid of it. Because, I always find in class, there's always somebody who has a question that everybody wants to hear. So a lot of times I'll ask the question so that everybody will hear it. Because I want it to be out there. Because once it's there, it's like a prayer. The thing that had hold of us dissipates into the nothingness that it came because it has no power. You have the power. All right, the last point I want to make is managing the fear factor. What the fear factor is taking risks. How many people like to take risk here? How many like to take a lot of risk here? Oh, we got a couple of you. Good, okay. How many doesn't like to take a risk? Yeah. So, I just want you to know where you are with risk taking, because that sounds really scary, doesn't it? Not to those that like to take risks. But the important thing is there's no right or wrong answer with this. We have to live within our own comfort zones here if we want to be risk takers or not risk takers. Charles Fillmore says this. He said, "There is no lack of anything anywhere in reality. The only lack is the fear of lack in the mind of man. We do not need to overcome any lack, but we must overcome the fear of lack." The fear of lack. So wherever you are on that scale, this is a new scale of risk or not risk. If you don't take risks, I want to encourage you to start taking a little more risk. That's that stepping out, right? Asking the questions that you normally wouldn't. For those of you that are real big risk takers, I want you to step back. Here's the reason why. If all we do is take a lot of risks, and I know the people that rose their hands, and I don't think they're that big of risk takers. But But I'll just say this. It's important to know how you got there. So if you take a risk, before you go to the next thing, step back and look at, how did this happen? How did I make this happen? Evaluate your fear to your faith. This is a perfect moment to do that, because it will continue to build the strength within you. So back to my story. Back then, I took calculated risks because I wasn't sure. I just left a breakup and life was just really tumultuous back then. But as I took a little bit of a risk, I got stronger. And I got to a place where I was no longer afraid of what would happen. This is important. Step 3. I'm no longer afraid of what will happen. No matter the risk, I'm no longer afraid of it. Instead, I look for the good I want to receive. This concert we had, I didn't really ever have any fear over it, but it was really hard. It was a lot of work, but it was better than I ever could have conceived. We actually made a couple $100. Yay! It's a good thing, and we gave money away to people. So today, right now, in this moment, I consciously ask for what I want. At least I try to. And my confidence is that it will unfold. Here's the other part of this. And to me, this is, well, for my life anyway, it's really important. If it does not unfold the way it feels like it should unfold, then I just move to another direction. You get that? I don't stay on the same path. So, example, if our landlord had said something else, no, that's not going to work, blah, 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 I said, okay, great. A no is a yes to me now. It is not a problem. I moved in the direction that is the least difficult. I know within the shadow of a doubt that Spirit, God, Essence, whatever name you want to call it, is going to reveal to me what is the next step. That's phase 3. If you are not at phase 3, the next class is going to be on abundance, on money, creating abundance in your life. Because I know that only the highest good and the highest for everything is going to be revealed. And if it doesn't, I don't get disappointed. Maybe a little bit. That's my emotions. But I move into the direction I want to go. So as I said, no to me now means yes, and I keep moving. Use that one. Everybody say this. No to me is yes, equals yes, means yes. No to me means yes. One more time. No to me means yes. And I keep moving. And I keep moving. As I point to you. And I keep moving. Keep moving. Don't be afraid to keep moving. You will be directed in the place you need to go. Okay? So let me just end with a slide. And I saw this slide. It just really touched me. And I thought, well, how does that relate to today? But here's the slide. When the eyes and the ears are open, even the leaves on the trees teach like pages from the scripture. What that meant to me was, when we are open to more faith, more is revealed of the possibilities that abound around us. Has anybody sat underneath a tree and watched it grow? I have. I loved to look under an oak tree. I used to live where there were a lot of oaks. And I would watch them grow from these little tiny things to maturity. And it was just so cool. Because I knew that that was fear, growth into faith. It would be very strong. And those oak trees are still alive today, just like you. So we have an affirmation. I'd like to say our affirmation 3 times. And I won't make you stand because I know that's hard. But after the affirmation, I will pray us this information, this message into the coming week, okay? So here's the affirmation. Let's say this together. First in a whisper, which is to our soul. Second in normal. And then third, let's claim it, okay? First one. I face my fears through courage, strength, and faith. Regular voice. I face my fears through courage, strength, and faith. And now let's claim it, you guys, all right? I face my fear through courage, strength, and faith. And let us pray. Oh, let us know right here where we are is the absolute presence of the essence and the oneness of God. Spirit, Allah, Yahweh, whatever name we call it, that it moves in our lives in the most incredible ways. It is greater than we could ever imagine. We are like a drop in the ocean, and it is so large that it comes and it absorbs into us its goodness. Spirit is right here, right now, at this given moment, being us, in and as us. And as I know the truth of being one with this infinite, powerful presence, I know that this essence works for us to reveal the good that is meant to be here and now. That anything unlike that good, that it dissolves into its nothingness, it has no power, and it simply moves into the zero place that it needs to be. And instead, what is revealed is the true essence of who we are, the beauty of who we are, the goodness of who we are, and the revelation of the things to be, that good that needs to be in the world. And so I claim today each of us have taken a piece of this with us, a piece of it that is good, that is true, that is for us, and for the betterment of our life. And so I release these words just knowing that it's already done, right here, right now. And so it is.
And so it is.
All right. Let's bring back Hail Deline, yeah.
You reminded me of a great quote from Mark Twain, and I have to paraphrase it because I don't have it verbatim. He said something like this, you know, I have been hounded by many, many a fearful occurrence in my life, most of which never happened.
Yeah, that is so true, isn't it? Well, who has a mama? So this is a song for mamas everywhere, here and there. And this is another song from a musical. The musical was Minnie's Boys. It was in the 1970s, and it was about the Marx Brothers. And so this song, Mama a Rainbow, was sung by Harpo. Those of us who are older remember the Marx Brothers, and Harpo never said anything. And so he sang this to his mama. What do you give to the lady who has given all her life and love to you? What do you give to the reason you are living? I could window shop the world before I'm through. Mama, a rainbow. Mama, a sunrise. Mama, the moon to wear. That's not good enough. No, not good enough. Not for Mama. Mama, a palace. Diamonds like doorknobs, mountains of gold to spare. That's not rich enough, no, not rich enough, not for Mama. If you want to hear that song again, we have that on YouTube.
Good. All right. So